Wendy, thanks for taking care of my daughter this 1 month. I'll come to pick her up tomorrow. What are you talking about, Hillary? Who had been traveling for a month seemed to still be at the station, as I could hear train transfer announcements over the phone. Unlike my calm reply, she began to panic. Wait, what are you saying? She's with you, right? I left Christina in your apartment's garage. Christina is her daughter, which means my niece. I haven't seen her. What are you talking about? Don't play dumb. I sent you a message, so there's no way you don't know. I haven't received any messages. Lies. That can't be true. Hillary raised her voice in panic over the phone. What are you going to do about this? I left Christina in your care. You better take responsibility if anything happens. After hanging up once, Hillary tried to call Christina's child's smartphone, but couldn't get through, and seemed to continue panicking. She called me back in a hurry and started yelling again, so I suggested she head home first. That's right. That's a good suggestion. Upon returning home, she found Scott, Christina, and me all together. Hillary seemed puzzled as to why all three of us were together. Hillary, I've just heard everything from these two. At Scott's words, she turned pale in surprise. My name is Wendy Brown. Until a few years ago, I was just another office worker. Turning 40 was the catalyst for me to go independent, and I started working as a freelance illustrator. My income increased, so now I live alone in an apartment. My job is basically home-based, and I only go out for occasional shopping or meetings with clients, which is quite limited. I'm not married and don't have a lover, but I'm still satisfied. Friends do ask if I'm lonely, but I've never thought about it that way, as my work is more fulfilling. I don't intend to look for a partner in the future. I do worry about my old age a little, but I think I'll deal with it when the time comes. Surprising myself with my optimism. Today, after finishing the deadline for an illustration, I took a break around 3:00 p.m. and looked at the calendar. Then I realized my brother's birthday was coming up soon. My brother Scott, 5 years my senior, is a salesman working for a major publishing company and often goes on long business trips. Sometimes he brings back souvenirs from his trips. Last month he dropped by my place unexpectedly with souvenir cookies, so I invited Scott in for coffee, and we shared the cookies. I keep telling you I'm fine. You should buy more for Hillary and Christina, but I have to see your face once in a while, too. I wouldn't want you to fall ill or something. Scott has always been overly caring, which hasn't changed over the years. Hillary and Christina are Scott's wife and daughter, respectively, making them my sister-in-law and niece. I haven't told Scott, but I find Hillary a bit difficult to deal with. She's very bright and always dressed in the latest fashion trends, making her appear quite glamorous. That's not a bad thing, and I don't mind it too much, but often looks down on me for being single. Even at family gatherings during Christmas, when she found out I had neither a spouse nor a boyfriend, she laughed out loud. Hey, are you the type who thinks you can put off marriage because you're still young and beautiful? Do you know about the right time to marry? I think marriage and romance are a matter of personal values. I don't think it's necessary to have a partner, as I responded. Hillary laughed yet again. It was unclear if it was the alcohol or something else that found it so amusing, but she kept teasing about the same thing, which eventually tired me out. Choosing a condo to live alone, one of my criteria was to be away from my brother and his wife, Hillary, because I was so fed up with her. However, I had a good relationship with my niece, Christina. Christina, who is turning 10 this year, seems to be attending school with her cute light blue backpack. Although I have never seen it in person, she told me about it when she came to visit my house. Wendy, you draw so well. Christina, who was watching me work on my illustrations, was admiring the drawings on my computer screen. I wish I could draw too. Oh, want to try? Can I? Yeah, I still have plenty of time before my deadline. You can try it for a bit. Sitting in front of the computer, Christina happily started drawing with the pen. She drew her light blue backpack, which she mentioned was heavy because it also contained a tablet device. Considering it gets even heavier with a water bottle in the summer, I was truly impressed by how responsible she was, despite her small stature. According to Christina, Hillary spends her days as a stay-at-home mom, and when Scott is away on business, she tends to do whatever she pleases. Dinners and lunches on school holidays are usually store or supermarket-ready foods. I usually do the laundry, and Mom does it sometimes. Really? Yeah. Also, Mom gets really angry just because my shoes are muddy after PE class. Why? What does your mom do at home? She's always on her smartphone or watching TV. Christina tries not to upset her mother, so she either stays in her room or goes out to the park or library. Hearing this makes one wonder about her parenting, yet as an outsider, it feels difficult to comment. On another occasion, at a family gathering, I saw Hillary scold and quiet Christina harshly for something minor like spilling juice, which could easily be wiped up. I thought it wasn't something to get so angry about. Mom is scary. She gets angry, whatever you say. Her words about drawing her light blue backpack dropped casually as she was leaving that day stuck with me like a splinter. It was a sunny weekend day when Hillary, saying she was going on a day trip with her mom friends, left Christina with me. I never imagined receiving a similar message on my smartphone a few days later. It was around the time when the leaves in the nearby park had completely turned and the cold made you miss the sunlight. When I came back to my apartment after running a quick errand, I saw a lone girl standing by the parking area. She was wearing a light blue backpack and her face was half covered by a mask, but I recognized her. Christina. When I called out to her, her anxious eyes looked up at me. It was indeed Christina. What are you doing here all alone? And what's with that luggage? Next to her was a small carry-on suitcase, creating a scene as if she had run away from home. Mom said to go to your house. Seeing the question marks over my head, Christina pointed at my bag and said on the cell phone. Perhaps there was a message on my smartphone. I hurriedly took out my smartphone from my bag and found that indeed Hillary had sent me a message just a while ago. Sorry it's so sudden, Wendy. I'm going on a trip with a friend for a month starting today, so please take care of my daughter. After reading that, I couldn't help but let out an incredulous who, but quickly shut my mouth. Of course I was confused, but I decided to let Christina, who must be equally puzzled, into the room. Once inside and after removing her mask, Christina's cheeks were as red as apples, and her hands were very cold. I prepared some hot cocoa to warm her up a bit and offered some snacks while listening to her story. Christina had been drawing in her notebook in her room until just before Hillary entered. Her room, without knocking, handed her a carry-on case and said, Christina, you're going to Wendy's house now, so get ready. Mom won't be home for a month, so make sure to bring your backpack. Okay, understand. Yeah. Thus, Christina packed her notebook, pencil case, textbooks, and tablet into her backpack and hurriedly prepared. Meanwhile, Hillary was on the phone with someone, seemingly very excited. Really? That's great. Hey, you're drinking already? That's too soon. Hillary's voice filled the house with high spirits. Christina covered her ears to block out her mother's laughter, which was different from usual. Coming from downstairs after the phone call ended, Hillary reverted to her usual tone, then left Christina by the car, instructing her to wait here and be good for Wendy for a month. Under the cold sky, despite the sunlight, it was quite a cold season. I couldn't help but feel angry, wondering what Hillary would have done if Christina caught a cold. But does my brother? Does your dad know about this? I don't think so. Mom doesn't seem to contact Dad much. While munching on chocolate cookies, she said this. Seeing crumbs on her cheek was cute, but I thought it would be bad not to tell my brother, so I decided to call him later. You know, Wendy, I don't want to be with my mom anymore. Suddenly, Christina said this while staring at the rim of her juice glass. The girl who had been happily eating cookies now had a serious look unusual for a 10-year-old. Why? Because Mom gets angry easily, throws things like trash cans, and I hate it. Trash cans. I haven't done anything wrong. She says I'm in the way, tells me to get lost, and throws things. My teachers at school don't believe me either, and I just can't stand it anymore. Tears started rolling down her cheeks. She must have been really upset as she continued to cry uncontrollably. I spent the time soothing her back and offering tissues until she calmed down. It was clear that what was happening to her was not normal. Convinced, I decided to call Scott to see if he could come back to help. Stepping away for a bit, I contemplated explaining the situation over the phone. Then an idea came to me. All right, this might work, muttering softly. Sure, here's the text punctuated and formatted into short paragraphs without missing any lines. I called my brother what Christina is. Yeah, what's going on? As I explained the situation, I could tell Scott was quite shaken, his voice trembling slightly. Initially, he tried to make light of the situation, but as he realized I was serious, he listened intently. After sharing my plan with him, he agreed to it and promised to adjust his work and holiday schedule to help. Okay then, please leave Christina to me. After hanging up, I went back to my smartphone to delete the message from Hillary. Looking towards the living room, I wondered if Christina had calmed down. As I slowly returned, tonight I decided to treat her to something nice. With that thought, I made my way back, step by step. Christina's school is a bit far from here, but I explained the situation to the school, and they arranged for her to take the bus. This should ease Christina's burden of walking with a heavy backpack. Due to the tablet, I decided to charge Scott later for the bus fare and spent my days working from home as usual. Christina, not attending any after-school activities or childcare, would come home and do her homework. Wendy, can you check this for me? I was surprised, thinking that's something a teacher should do, but according to Christina, it was different. All my classmates have their moms do it. I used to do it myself. While realizing how self-centered Hillary has been, I grabbed a red pen. After checking her work, it was time to prepare dinner. When I stood in the kitchen, Christina would follow me and look at me with eager eyes, saying, I want to help. We're making hamburgers today. Could you start by peeling the onions? Okay. Christina peeled the onions faster than I thought she would, and then quickly followed instructions to help with the cooking. I wondered where she learned to cook, but before I had time to ask, dinner was ready. Days like these repeated, and before we knew it, a month had passed. As I was looking at the calendar, thinking it was about time, sure enough, I got a call from Hillary. Wendy, thanks for taking care of my daughter this past month. I'll come to pick her up tomorrow. What are you talking about? I replied calmly. I haven't seen her. What are you talking about? She's there with you, right? I left Christina at your apartment, so you must know that. I haven't seen her. What are you talking about? Don't play dumb. I sent you a message, so you should know. I haven't received any messages. Are you sure you're not mistaken? Lies that can't be. Hillary raised her voice in apparent panic over the phone. What? What are you going to do about this? I entrusted Christina to you. If anything happens, it's your responsibility. I'll call Christina too, she yelled sharply and hung up the phone abruptly. After a while, she called again, still shouting. It seemed she tried calling Christina's child's smartphone, but couldn't get through and continued to panic. "Hillary, why don't you go home and calm down first?" "That's right. That's a good idea." After the call, I could hear Hillary arguing with someone, possibly a man, but it was too distant to make out clearly. The room fell silent again, like the calm before a storm. When Hillary finally returned home, she rushed down the hallway with loud footsteps. Entering the living room, her face, wild with anger, suddenly turned pale with shock. Scott, Christina, and I were all there. Hillary seemed to want to ask why all three of us were together, but was so surprised she couldn't speak. "Hillary, I've heard everything from these two and the phone call earlier." We put the last call on speaker so everyone could hear it, made it easier to discuss what comes next. Christina's smartphone was turned off, so of course it didn't connect. "What have you done?" "That's my line," I said. "I didn't know earlier, but I've been taking care of Christina at my house for a month." "What do you mean by suddenly going on a trip and leaving her at someone's doorstep?" "But I sent you a message." "That's not the point." Then Scott carefully chose his words and spoke softly. "Both of you, let's calm down. Christina is here too. Hillary, it's true you went on a trip by yourself and left Christina behind. Your outfit and luggage, it all looks like you've just returned." Hillary was dressed in warm coat and neatly dressed for going out. Her luggage seemed packed, possibly with lots of souvenirs and clothes, as the carry-on was bursting at the seams. Hillary didn't deny it, but started making excuses. "It's true I went on a trip, but you know, even a housewife needs a break. Doing laundry, cooking every day, it's the same routine and the stress just builds up. I just wanted to go out with friends." "Are these friends the ones you were emailing?" I presented several sheets of copy paper. Printed on them were email exchanges with someone who seemed to be Hillary's affair partner. Discussing where and when to go on a trip, the emails weren't just recent. They had been frequent since last spring, including the day I briefly took care of Christina for a day when Hillary was supposedly out viewing flowers at the park. The day trip with mom friends was a blatant lie. Hillary covered her mouth as if to say, "Oh no." In fact, a few hours before Hillary came here, at Christina's request, I had looked through Hillary's computer and found these emails as evidence. Christina had noticed her mother frequently checking her smartphone and messaging someone, beginning to suspect that the person wasn't her father. Her suspicion turned into certainty when she saw an unknown man's name on her mother's smartphone messages while she was sleeping in the living room. Also, the voice on the phone, though rarely heard, wasn't her father's. Christina had told me 6 months ago that her mother was having an affair. I was skeptical until Hillary suddenly mentioned going on a trip a month ago, but after checking the computer just now, it was clear Christina's intuition was correct. Looking over at Scott, I could see him shaking his shoulders quietly yet unmistakably. "What have you done? I trusted you, and you leave Christina with Wendy to take care of while you go off having an affair." Scott approached Hillary with trembling fists. "It's a misunderstanding. I was told by him I had to go on that trip." "What do you mean you had to?" "You left this house unattended for a month for that reason. Give me a better excuse." "I was being threatened. You believe me, right, Christina? You believe me, don't you?" When suddenly asked, Christina calmly and straightforwardly responded, "Mom, before you left, you were on the phone and seemed really happy. Plus, you made me do all the cooking and cleaning while you just slept around." Christina glared at Hillary with her lips pursed. "And you told me not to stay up late, but go to sleep early, yet you went out in the middle of the night. And didn't come back until morning, sleeping on the floor. Everything you said was so inconsistent." Scott pressed further upon hearing this. "Going out in the middle of the night, you mean partying?" "No, that's not it. Christina, stop talking. I quickly showed Scott photos on my smartphone. They captured Hillary leaving late at night in flashy attire. These are from a few months ago. Christina contacted me, and I happened to be nearby and took these. I was shocked, too. Where were you going at that time, Hillary? Confronted with the photo evidence, Hillary seemed to realize she couldn't argue her way out of this and slumped to the ground. I can't believe this. I can't entrust Christina to you anymore. Let's get a divorce. I will also demand compensation. From now on, you can do as you please with that man. Scott said this and turned his back on Hillary. Divorce? No, you can't mean that. Don't you think Christina will be pitiful without her mother? What do you think, Christina? Help me. No, absolutely not. Wendy is more like a mother to me. Feeling ashamed to beg my own child like that, but Christina firmly rejected Hillary. During the time I was taking care of Christina, I made sure to spend quality time with her, discussing school, hobbies, and future plans. Cooking together was one of those shared activities. Hillary, don't worry. I'll make sure Christina is happy. I said this with a bright smile, and Hillary slumped, saying nothing more. Half a year later, the divorce between her and Scott was finalized, and Scott was granted custody. Hillary was taken back to her hometown by her parents. As I heard, the man Hillary had an affair with, who she met online, disappeared as soon as he found out about the divorce, cutting off all contact. By the time Hillary realized she was just played, it was too late, and she was left with a substantial amount of compensation and child support to pay. Her savings weren't nearly enough, and she had to ask her parents to bear more than half of the burden. This led to stricter supervision by her parents, and she was no longer allowed to go out late at night. Furthermore, the rumor that she had divorced without taking her daughter and returned to her parents spread around the neighborhood, making it difficult for her to go out during the day due to judgmental stares. However, she would have to rejoin society eventually, but what happens after that is unknown to me. Scott and Christina moved out of their old house, renting it out, and now live in a different floor of my apartment building. The rental income is intended for loan repayments and saving for Christina. I started visiting them almost daily. Scott, having been away on business trips frequently and not paying enough attention to his family, decided to change jobs. Reflecting on his past focus on work, changing jobs in his 40s was not easy. But his excellent sales performance and high communication skills, which could have easily earned him a higher position, helped him secure offers from 2 or 3 companies within about 6 months. But your new job is fully remote, right? Yeah, but it's interesting because I can talk to various people. Plus, being with Christina is the most important thing. Christina still carries her light blue backpack to school. The move meant she had to transfer to a different school, which must have been sad for her, leaving behind friends and teachers. But she seems to be enjoying her new school life surprisingly well. Christina, have you gotten used to your new school? While cooking dinner together, Christina giggled in response. Yeah, I made a friend in the class next door already. That was quick. Christina nodded shyly. Yeah, we're going to make hamburgers at her house next time. That sounds fun. Her face lit up with a smile, and seeing her happy made me smile too. Her dream is to open a restaurant. At 10 years old, she already has a firm dream, and she explained why. My friend's mom doesn't cook for her either, so she cooks herself. She said she wants to cook for people who don't have anyone to cook for them, like us. I see, I want to be like that too. That's why I'm practicing making hamburgers. Seeing her innocently smiling, I felt a mix of emotions but quickly smiled back. That's great, Christina. Your hamburgers are delicious. I hope a lot of people get to try them. Looking at Christina, full of hope and moving forward, she seemed incredibly brave and bright. Her dream won't end as just a fantasy or delusion. I look forward to the day she opens her restaurant.